Our people are being tortured, Zelensky vows to get food, water and medicine into besieged Mariupol while Russia prepares to launch its all-out assault on Kyiv, and the UK warns new attacks on western cities are indiscriminately shelling civilians. President Volodymyr Zelensky slammed Moscow for torturing civilians who have spent more than a week without vital supplies in besieged cities as Vladimir Putin widened his onslaught of Ukraine. Yesterday, the Ukrainian premier accused Russia of refusing to allow evacuees to escape the city of Mariupol, which has been cut off from food, water and electricity, and defiantly insisted vital supplies would be delivered there tomorrow despite it being surrounded by Russian troops. The Kremlin-owned TASS news agency painted a damning picture for those stuck in the city after quoting Russian Colonel Mikhail Mizintsev as saying all bridges into the city were destroyed and roads had been laid with mines. Russian troops have not let our aid into the city and continue to torture our people. Tomorrow, Saturday, we will try again to send food, water and medicine, Zelensky said. Ukrainian officials revealed on Friday that Russian soldiers had kidnapped Melitopol's mayor Ivan Fedorov from the city's crisis center after he refused to cooperate with the enemy. This is obviously a sign of weakness of the invaders. They have moved to a new stage of terror in which they are trying to physically eliminate representatives of legitimate local Ukrainian authorities, President Zelensky said. The capture of the mayor of Melitopol is therefore a crime, not only against a particular person, against a particular community, and not only against Ukraine. It is a crime against democracy itself. The acts of the Russian invaders will be regarded like those of Islamic State terrorists, he said. In hellish scenes not witnessed on the continent since the Second World War. Residents have resorted to fighting one another for food and bodies are buried in mass graves as more than 1,500 people have now died in the city. Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, tweeted, "Besieged Mariupol is now the worst humanitarian catastrophe on the planet. 1,582 dead civilians in 12 days, even buried in mass graves." Unable to defeat the Ukrainian army, Putin bombs the unarmed. Blocks humanitarian aid. We need planes to stop Russian war crimes. A total of 7,144 people escaped 4 Ukrainian cities on Friday using humanitarian corridors. President Zelensky said in a televised address, a sharply lower number than managed to leave in each of the 2 previous days. It comes as Putin struck areas in central and western Ukraine. Some hundreds of miles from the capital Kyiv, and huge explosions illuminated the night sky in Dnipro and Lutsk as residents experienced Russian artillery attacks for the first time. In Ivano-Frankivsk, a triple strike hit at first light, said to be targeting an airfield on the edge of the city. Indiscriminate shelling at 4 a.m. UK time yesterday left tower blocks and a factory ablaze in Dnipro, killing a security guard. Meanwhile, the 40-mile convoy of tanks, troops and artillery that had been bearing down on Kyiv in recent days is understood to have moved into strategic firing positions ahead of an all-out assault on the capital. Fears have been mounting that Moscow could attempt a repeat at the barbaric bombing used on besieged cities such as Mariupol, with Russian troops now just 9 miles from the city. Satellite images showed howitzer weaponry and suspected rocket launchers being readied, prompting remaining Kyiv residents to take up arms and erect barricades. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko warned Russia the city was a fortress. It comes as military experts say they are baffled by the ineptitude of the tactics displayed by Russia's armies after drone footage yesterday showed a column of tanks getting picked off one by one in an ambush carried out by Ukraine's forces. Analysts have said Russian tank commanders allowed the Ukrainians to ambush their unit by driving down the middle of a main road leading into Kyiv, and straight into a death trap. By multiple counts, President Vladimir Putin's forces have lost more tanks than are operational in the entire German army. as there were no Ukrainian military facilities in the Dnipro district. The local prosecutor opened an investigation into a possible war crime. Residents and shop owners worked throughout the day to clear up broken glass and board up the open window frames as snow fell and temperatures dipped below zero. Svetlana Kalincheko, who works in a clinic next door to the factory in Dnipro, said, "We heard a loud explosion and the windows broke and bits of the ceiling started to fall." Dnipro had been considered a safe haven. Consequently, it has become a hub for the coordination of humanitarian aid and for those fleeing more severe fighting. It was unclear last night what Putin thought he would achieve by bombing the city, as no invading troops were on the ground there yesterday. Other soft targets were hit, perhaps with the intention of spreading fear in areas previously unaffected by the invasion. A psychiatric hospital in the eastern town of Izium was bombed, causing 73 patients to be evacuated. Governor Oleg Senegubov said the number of casualties was being established. He described it as a brutal attack on civilians. A care home for the disabled was also struck in the village of Oskil, eastern Ukraine. There were 330 people inside, including 10 who required wheelchairs and 50 with reduced mobility, but there were no casualties. Ukrainian airstrips were targeted yesterday at Lutska and Ivano-Frankivsk, which are 260 miles and 380 miles respectively from Kyiv. Last night it was considered unlikely that attacks on airstrips so far from the capital city would provide Russian forces with a much-needed impetus. Western officials said the invaders were making minimal ground because of logistical issues and strong Ukrainian resistance.